I'm in my garden in Truro, a small town wedged between Wellfleet and Provincetown on the Outer Cape. September has brought its usual cold weather. I have started to convert the house from the focus of dinner parties and family visits, from a vacation option for widowed friends not yet comfortable or smart enough to reach out to live what's left of life, to a state of suspension. All systems off, bird feeders collected, washed, and put in the lower basement. The house will now sleep until early next May. I spend some time pruning and tidying what is left of my heirloom tomato plants. There is nothing healthy or alive now, no fruit, only wasted bodies with thin, scrawny arms and stems so weak and dehydrated that they no longer have the strength to remain upright. So why am I bent over, snipping here and there, making things neat, sprucing up plants whose lives are spent? I'm thinking of another day, another time. I am at home in New York, standing in Ray's clothes closet, deciding how I should dress his body. He is in the funeral home, awaiting my decision. The casket will be closed. Our daughters, Jackie and Lisa, have already said their final goodbyes at the hospital. Who would see him? Who would notice what he wore? But I want him to look every bit the Polish prince, a name my college friends dubbed him when we began to date seriously. I paced back and forth in the closet, sliding the heavy walnut suit hangers he preferred back and forth, stopping in front of this jacket or that suit. I remember the pains Manny, the head fitter at Paul Stewart, took to ensure that the fit of his jackets was perfect. He knew just how much padding would equalize the 1-inch difference between Ray's right and left shoulders, the cost of carrying his heavy medical bag on 8 to 10 house calls a day. I finally select a navy blazer with beautiful gold buttons, a blue and white striped shirt, and a crimson blue and white paisley tie. I always had the last word about the shirts and ties. Ray was a Polish immigrant and a Holocaust survivor. After he was liberated from a Nazi concentration camp, he was sent to a displaced persons camp outside of Munich. He attended Ludwig Maximilian University's medical school in Munich, graduated in 1950, and immigrated to the United States. When he came to New York, he spoke very little English and understood even less. 2 or 3 movies a day taught him enough to pass the exams he needed to continue his medical studies, but the English language continued to trip him up for the 40 years we were married. Sometimes the words just don't make sense. I remember Mort Green and his wife inviting me to dinner at a fancy restaurant, he said, smiling at the memory. Mort had more house calls a day than any general practitioner in Queens, and he let me cover for him on the weekends. I needed the money, and I needed that dinner, too. I suppose I was what people called a greener, meaning an unrefined, newly arrived immigrant. A lot of the food on the menu was unfamiliar to me until I spotted halibut steak. I absolutely knew what steak was. He laughed, remembering how he forced himself to eat the fish, a food he avoided throughout our marriage. So why am I bent over, snipping here and there, making things neat, sprucing up plants whose lives are spent? Because words sometimes just don't make sense.